This is the Horror Movie Show on himpod.com, your one-stop shop for all things horrific and horror-related. Read the reviews, frolic in the forum, hem and haw over the horoscopes, and listen mightily to the Horror Movie Show with Mark and Jerry, your horrible hosts.
Hey there, folks. Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you the newest, in fact, very newest.
They're all new. Let's get over that.
Well, next week it won't be new, and then you'll feel silly.
Well, yeah, but then...
Okay, we're bringing you an old episode.
There you go.
Of the Horror Movie Show.
It's only new this week, and then next week it's...
They're all old.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, now I'm depressed. I don't know if we should even bother.
Oh, the horror.
All right, okay, now let's carry on. New episode of the Horror Movie Show on himpod.com, also on Facebook. Look for us under Horror Movie Show, and also iTunes and many other mirror sort of podcast sites.
I think if you do a search for just Jerry and Mark, you'll find us.
Good Lord. So we're going to start this week with Dark Skies, a 2013 movie written and directed by Scott Stewart. It stars Kerry Russell as Lacey Barrett, Josh Hamilton as Daniel Barrett, Dakota Goyo as their oldest son Jesse,
Goyo.
And Caden Rocket as their youngest son Sam. Last week we were talking about J.K. Simmons. He has a real nice role in this movie.
That's right.
Which is about abductions by aliens, specifically Greys.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bunch of
abductees?
That's what I'm trying to say.
I thought it was.
Abductions. There's not a lot of abductions happening in this movie, but it is about abductions.
Well, it's about one family
who
come to realize that the aliens are after one of their kids. And J.K. Simmons plays the expert, who, of course, the authorities all think is crazy as a bedbug.
Mm-hmm.
But
I thought
he knows a lot.
I thought he looked so tired.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and the fact that he has to interview or question the people coming to him just to see if they're frauds or not.
Yeah.
And so this is something he's done over and over and over again. So a lot of abductions must be happening.
Plus he knows it's hopeless.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
He knows it's virtually hopeless. If the aliens want somebody, they will get them.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they sort of tease and torture and manipulate people, and it's just all around these Greys are not good guys.
Yeah, I thought the whole way that they do things is like they scare the bejesus out of them by moving things around in their house.
At first it looks like a poltergeist.
Yeah. And they're leaving little symbols and things like that there.
Right.
So why are they doing this is the question. Is why not just grab them and yank them out of there and be done with it?
Yeah.
No, they're toying with them.
Yeah.
This family has no idea.
Right from birth, they toy with.
I just love the way that this family goes to the police and says something weird's happening, and the police are just going, it's just your kids fooling around on you. You know how kids are. They're not taking them serious at all.
No, but nothing really bad has happened except, like a mess in the kitchen, something like that. Weird things stacked in strange shapes, like every utensil and pot and plate in the kitchen all stacked into really bizarre pyramids and stuff like that, which was a great look. That must have been fun for this set designer to
and the fact
together.
that when they turn on the light, then it projects something on the ceiling.
Yeah,
these circles on the ceiling, which come into play later on when they're trying to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the movie was very low key.
Yes.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of excitement in this.
No, not a lot of hysteria, even though these people are terrified that they're going to lose.
It's more of a...
And the mum comes to believe it quite early on, whereas the dad is very skeptical. He's even half skeptical when they go see the Simmons character, the expert.
Yeah.
And the dad makes a wise-ass crack, and Simmons, as you say, he's just so beat down that he just sort of... Yeah, okay, on with his little questionnaire.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it. It was not as scary as I thought it would be because it was sort of underplayed, but by the end I thought it was genuinely creepy. And I don't want to give it away, but there's a nice little twist at the end, too.
Comes into play,
Yeah, puts things into perspective.
And again, I mean, it's like, this is a low-budget movie. It's only $3.5 million.
Is that right?
And they have great talent, and it's really well written and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's amazing what you can do with such a small budget.
Definitely.
And they've made, I think it was $17.5 million gross so far. So they're doing very well.
A lot of Greys going to see it, probably.
But it's interesting because it brings into play all the things that we know about aliens. Kind of like, you know, it's like it's those pictures with the big, tall aliens with the big black eyes. And we've all seen it before. It's just like a documentary on what we all know, you know, except for it's happening to this family.
The movie certainly, I mean, it takes its villains, for want of a better term, it takes the mysterious enemy from all the literature that we've heard again and again, the Area 51, all that stuff, the lights, right back to Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, in which a little boy is kidnapped in that too. And, you know, why? I don't know. The aliens choose some people. In that movie, they're returning people after learning about us. They're returning people, and none of them have aged, for example. And so the little boy comes back to his mom.
They're good aliens.
None the worse for wear. They are. In this movie, they're just completely mysterious. We don't know what their purpose is.
Yeah, and why they're doing what they're doing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Isn't it like the one family's not enough? You got to do it to...
But, you know, I really, really don't believe in this stuff myself. I think that these people, and there are millions of them, who seriously and somberly believe that they are paralyzed in their beds and visited by aliens and probed and taken on ships.
It could be just their neighbors having a laugh.
I hope so.
You know?
I hope so. 400 years ago, people believed that succubus and incubus would sit on their chest and do things to them while they were helplessly asleep. It's the exact same thing. It's just been updated in our psychologies to use pseudoscience to explain it. As opposed
Come on,
to black magic.
Why not aliens being revisiting the Earth over and over again through the centuries?
Well, I haven't seen any real proof of it.
And, of course not.
And you know those...
they're very good that way.
those crop circles that were all the rage in England for a while there. Even when the two guys who had made those crop circles came forward and said, look, here's a video of us making crop circles. This is how we did it. We did it here, we did it here, we did it here. They showed all the places that had all been touted, you know, by so-called experts as being alien crop circles. Even after they admitted it, the experts, because of course they had books to sell and their own agenda to push, they said, no, they're lying. You know, that's so funny. People just want to believe things. But,
of course they do.
But there's money to be made selling books about
look at religion in general. I mean, there's money to be made.
Yeah, indeed.
As you say.
Money to be made and control to be had.
Exactly. But I don't know about control with the aliens. I mean...
Well, you can control people with fear. These abductees down in the States, I'm sure it's in Canada too, it's probably all over the world, they get together, they have meetings, they have associations, they have clubs, you know. Somebody's getting dues.
Yeah, but does any one of them have a good video of these things?
Exactly. This is why there isn't any proof.
I can understand being very difficult to be in the right place at the right time with a camera and stuff like that, but not in today's society.
Right.
Everybody's got a camera on their phone, and the smartphones are everywhere. Well, so they should be able to catch something.
There isn't a credible witness to any of this stuff, and none of these people, like in the movie... Simmons says, you know, you got an itchy patch behind your ear. That's not a rash. That's where the aliens put their little probing device to control you. And sure enough, you know, mom, dad, the kids, they've all got these things. J.K. Simmons shows behind his ear where he tried to dig it out and it only dug deeper into his body. So that doesn't work. Well, if you've got actual alien technology stuck under your skin, it would seem to me that's proof.
Yeah.
Nobody's got proof.
Yeah.
Nobody's got one of these things buried under their skin.
Yeah, I was kind of skeptical about that.
Well, that's where the movie, takes that leap into fantasy.
Yeah, that's the probably the only thing, because that's the only proof that you could actually solid proof.
Yeah.
Go to the doctor, get an X-ray, look at it.
Exactly. What's this piece of plastic and metal?
It might not even be
head?
Plastic. Maybe it's organic for all exactly. It's some little bug they put into your brain.
The dad's irritated spot looks, like he's got a computer chip.
Yeah.
Just behind his ear.
Yeah. Plus the fact that he's been scratching it,
been picking at it.
But there's still
if
those
you
dots.
pick it, the aliens will get angry. So anyway, all right. So I enjoyed it. The next movie we got is one called The ABCs of Death. This is 27 different directors.
Was there 27?
There's 27 in the count. Maybe 2 people directed one episode. I don't know. So this is what you call an anthology movie. 26 different short films, and they are very short films, each only about 3 minutes long.
They range. Some were 5 minutes, some were like 45 seconds.
Yeah, and they also range remarkably in quality.
Oh, yeah.
Now, obviously, some people are going to find some parts better than other people, but I think most of us would agree on, half a dozen that look professionally made and actually have a beginning, middle, and end, and they hold together.
Yeah.
A lot of these are little throwaway things that are just disgusting or sad.
So the whole thing was that these 27 directors were given one letter of the alphabet, and they could make anything they wanted.
As long as it was about death.
Yeah. And so they made up the word that was associated with the letter.
Like W stands for what the F.
WTF.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, which I thought was a very good... It was an animation, for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was a whole bunch of interesting things, and all around the world. So you had your Spanish, you had your French, you had your...
Don't say they're mine. They're not mine.
Okay, you don't have that. And British, all sorts of different... And so they
lots
were done
of Asian directors.
Oh, God. The Asians were the weirdest. The weirdest clips came from the Asians.
My favorite clip was the one by an American dude who's just out in the desert with like his writer, and the two of them are there. And I'm trying to remember what the little scene is.
It's Quack.
Oh yeah, they're going to kill a duck.
That's right.
They're going to kill a duck.
Q is for Quack.
And that is going to be their film.
They figured they didn't know what to do with the letter Q.
Yeah.
So they thought they were kind of ripped off in that.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, well, maybe we're going to do something different from all the other. We're going to really kill something.
We're going to kill something.
In our segment.
There's our film.
So
the death of a duck.
They have this guy set up a big camera.
Yeah.
And it's pointing at this caged duck that's sitting there in the middle of a sort of like a quarry pit.
Right.
And
just in the
they
desert.
both have guns. Both the directors have guns.
Yeah.
And they said
the director and the writer.
And at one point the director, I guess, he chickens out and says, "No, you do it."
Yeah. He says to the writer, "Would you mind doing it? I can't
kill the duck."
Yeah. So the writer, as writers always will, he says, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it." And he points the gun at the duck. He can't get the gun to work. Now they're worrying with the goddamn guns. Neither of them know how to use a gun. Is the safety on? Is it loaded? And next thing you know, bang, bang.
And they kill each other.
And they're both dead. And the duck is in the cage.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it didn't strike me at the time, but of course, they've only got one camera, which is aimed at the duck. But of course, there's somebody else filming them.
Yes.
So it is like a real little movie. But that quacked me up. I thought that was very funny.
There was a Japanese one. F is for fart.
Right. That was
so bizarre.
Yeah.
It's these. I don't know what it is about Japanese. They love their little schoolgirls.
Yeah.
And they're dressed like Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
They're little sailor.
Well, they
outfits.
That's the uniforms that a lot of the kids
Why are they all in sailor uniforms?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Anyhow, there's
very fetishized. I think.
We'll tell you about this one. This is not anime, by the way. It isn't anime. It's real life.
There are special effects.
Yes, this girl's walking to school, and she figures she needs to fart. So she farts, and it literally bursts out of her butt and blows the back of her little skirt up.
Yes.
And she
Marilyn Monroe.
Puts her hand to her mouth and goes, "Ooh, I wonder if anyone's seen me." And she looks around, and right behind her is her teacher.
Right.
And the teacher
goes,
another woman. And she's going, "Oh, ho, 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 I saw what you did." And they end up walking to school together.
I guess it's a huge shame to make bodily noises.
I don't know what it is.
No,
anyway,
it is. They actually market a toilet. They market a sound system that you put in the bathroom, which is water running, so that you don't actually have to waste water, but that masks any sounds that you make while you're on the toilet.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
Yeah.
I could use one of those sometimes.
Yeah.
Why not just cranking the music,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, it just isn't done,
They're in PE class thing, and the teacher's there, and the girls are sitting there in a line. There's like 4 or 5 girls. Don't know why it's so small.
Yeah.
And they see this big explosion in the distance, and this big dust cloud coming towards them, big black cloud.
Right.
And they don't know what to make of it, so the teacher and this girl start running, and the other just stand there, and the cloud goes into them, and it dissolves them.
Yeah, they die.
They just dissolve.
Yeah.
So the teacher and this girl run into this room, and they know that the cloud's coming, and the girl says to the teacher, "I don't want to die of this cloud. Will you please fart in my face and kill me?"
No, she says, "It's like my dream is to have you fart in my face."
Whatever.
And let me die smelling your farts.
Instead of this big catastrophe coming towards them. So she does. It isn't a small fart. It's this huge thing.
It's a yellow cloud of
whatever,
like
fumes.
Gas.
Yeah, coming out of her butt for what seems like a minute.
Yeah.
And this girl, with her face right in it, finally suffocates.
Yeah.
Now, not only is that bizarre, but then the teacher decides to suck it all back in into her butt, including the girl.
Yeah.
Gets sucked right into her butt.
Oh, man, I don't know. What can you say?
Now,
I like their sushi. But I don't know.
And they also have the Z letter, and that whole sequence is the most bizarre sequence I've ever seen.
Oh, what did Z stand for?
I'll tell you in a sec. I got it written here. Zetsumitsu, meaning extinction.
Extinction, right.
It is a bizarre clip.
Isn't it?
It was a bizarre clip of all sorts of weirdness, people getting mutilated and blood squirting everywhere, and a lot of nudity. I mean, it was just, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
One of them.
K is for Klutz is about this woman. It's an animation. Mm-hmm. And it's about this woman taking a dump at a party in the washroom, and the little poo that just wouldn't flush.
Yeah, I remember now. Yes, indeed. And she's doing everything she can. She doesn't, for example, grab some toilet paper, pick it up,
and
put it in the toilet.
No,
for some reason she has to
spike it with her
stiletto heel and
try to get it in that way.
Kick it in,
and it keeps coming back.
Yeah, it's alive and it's malevolent.
And finally, the poop wins out.
Yes.
There was a number of different little things in this.
Very, very scatological humor, very childish, most of these, I thought.
And some of it was pretty disturbing.
Yes.
And there was one O for orgasm.
Right.
Which was so stylistic and well done.
Right.
And I don't know what orgasm has to do with death.
Yeah.
Because there didn't seem to be anything about death in there. I've never seen something so beautiful with it. And they did it with bubbles and special effects.
Yeah.
I mean, it was CGI all over the place, but things molding into other things.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack is basically a woman, coming to orgasm.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully done. Got to see that just for that movie. The movie just for that.
Yeah. I'd probably say 6 out of the 26 episodes were really good. The rest varied from passable to terrible. And there were lots of terrible ones.
Well, no. Out of the 26, I'd say that more than half of them were okay.
Oh, okay. Well, barely okay.
That's what I say. Passable.
One of them.
I'd say at least half of them. I wouldn't be bothered to watch them again.
There was one Serbian one.
That's right.
R for removed, and it was horrific. I mean, I don't know what it is about the Serbs. They love their gore.
Right.
And this guy was in a hospital, and they were taking skin off people, and thing about this train, and lots of blood everywhere.
Yep.
It was very weird.
That was
section.
Sheridan
And one of them,
Spasojevic.
One of them was situated in New Vancouver.
Yeah, that's
the year
right.
2035.
I kind of like that one. New Vancouver. Yeah. Where's old Vancouver gone to?
I don't know, but New Vancouver.
Well, maybe the earthquake wipes us out, and then New Vancouver is built on top of our ruins.
It's quite possible.
Yeah.
They keep saying we're going to hit a 9 in the Richter scale sooner or later.
Well, it's going to hit this part of the world, that's for sure. It may not be right here in
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Say every 200 years or so we're due for a big one.
Yep.
And it's been a lot longer since the last one.
300.
Well, it's got to show up sooner or later.
Yeah, but it could also show up the coast a ways, or it could be in Seattle.
Yeah,
we're all in
Seattle?
the same fault. Vancouver and Seattle both lie on this edge of these two continental plates. The one with the Pacific Ocean on top is pushing under the North American plate. Mm-hmm. It's when it skids underneath, it gets jammed and the tension builds up, and then it skids underneath again, and that's your earthquake. So that's your earthquake.
I'm going to mention one more little tidbit about this.
Oh, if you must.
It's the first one. It's
I like that.
for apocalypse.
Apocalypse, yeah.
Yeah, this woman comes into
mousy woman
comes into her husband's bedroom.
Sick room.
And he's obviously bedridden.
Yeah.
And he's trying to eat breakfast or lunch or something like that. And she comes in with this huge knife.
Butcher knife.
And just starts hacking away at him. And then she leaves, but she leaves it embedded in his shoulder.
No, in his neck.
In his neck, that's it.
Neck. And she's cut one of his hands in half.
Right, half. And it's just hanging there.
She's got the knife. He's spurting blood, and his eyes are rolling around, but he's not dying.
In the background, you can hear all sorts of terrible things happening outside.
Yes.
The apocalypse
is going on.
The apocalypse is happening outside. Yeah. And so the little mousy woman goes out of the room, comes back with this frying pan full of chips.
It's hot grease.
And hot grease. And she flings it at his face and starts smacking him on the head.
Well done, because he's like cooking. And you see his skin like bubbling and blistering. And then she's hitting him again and again. He just is looking at her, sort of puzzled.
Yeah.
And eventually she
stops hitting him.
She goes and she lies on her side of the bed and she says to him, I've been working on this for months, poisoning you so slowly so that nobody would know and you would just die. But I left it too long.
And I've run out of time.
So, but now she can't finish him off, because nobody's going to die anymore. They're all going to come back as zombies. That was the idea I got.
Where do you get the zombies thing from?
Well, she stuck a knife in his neck. He should have bled out fairly quickly. And he's not even in pain. He's just sort of... He never says anything.
That's true.
He's just sort of rolling his eyes at her like, good luck.
So, anyway, it was a bizarre little clip.
So that's what I got. Yeah, and that's the way the movie begins, with that nasty little episode. And when she first comes into the room, you don't see she's got the big butcher knife. She sort of sidles around the room like she's going to do a little tidying, and then she walks straight over to him, and he's eating his breakfast off a tray on the bed, and next thing you know, he's fighting for his life as she hacks and mangles him.
Oh, yeah,
and
that hand
stabs him in the throat.
And that hand, I mean, it was like 2 fingers are
hanging by a thread.
Oh, that
and the other,
it was almost like a one-shot.
Twitching.
The thing was like a one-shot, I don't remember any edits.
Oh, yeah, there's different camera angles.
Anyway, it was very quick.
It was. I thought it was well done. I thought it was a strong start.
Yeah.
The movie. If they'd begun with like the fart scene, I don't think
that was just damn weird.
Yeah, well, there's lots of weird stuff in that movie. Okay, now our next movie is weird, but in an entirely different sort of way. Cloud Atlas, a 2012 movie directed by 3 people: Tom Tykwer, Andy Wachowski, and Lana Wachowski.
Now, did they take different time periods?
I can only assume that they did that. It was also written by the same 3 people. And I give you the names of the actors because these are all pretty well-known actors.
Oh, yeah, they're real lot.
Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, Jim Broadbent, Hugo Weaving, Jim Sturgess, Duna Bay, Ben Whishaw, Keith David, James Darcy, Chinese actress Zhan Zhu, Susan Sarandon, and Hugh Grant. Now, I listed their names, but to read every character that they play in every time period that is given. And this movie goes right from like 200 years ago in an old wooden sailing boat.
1700, 1600.
Yeah. To right through to several different futures.
Yeah.
Like there's future on Earth, there's a future on another planet where humans have gone. There's one vision of the future of the Earth where everyone is Asian. Yeah. Everybody's Asian. And so they have like white people playing Asians. And there's another scene where the Chinese woman, Zhan Zhu, plays a white woman. Yeah. She looks very bizarre. I mean, she still has the facial characteristics of an Asian woman, but she's supposed to be white. And the white people playing Asians never look convincing either. You just can't get that Mongolian fold above the eyes properly with makeup. They all look like Fu Manchu, Peter Lorre playing an Asian. But it's very interesting, and it really held my attention.
Well, yeah, and it's beautifully
done. It's a long and complicated movie.
It's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, and it's all about reincarnation, basically. Without anybody knowing that reincarnation is happening, these same people, and usually, not always, but usually with similar personality traits.
Yeah.
Like the Hugo Weaving character, I don't think we ever see him except as a villain. Mm-hmm. And you remember him as the villain in
Matrix.
The Matrix. He's the agent, and
he's also in Lord of the Rings.
He's Elrond in Lord of the Rings, so he's not a villain there, but he's just got something sneery about his face that makes him a good villain. Yeah, and it was really well done. I really enjoyed it.
It took me a while to figure out what the heck was going on. Yeah. I mean, they don't do it in chronological.
Oh no, it jumps from time to time, forwards and backwards.
Yeah,
all over the
so
place.
you don't know what the heck's going on, and it took me a while to recognize Tom Hanks and that manner of speaking when he's in the olden days.
Right, on the sailboat.
Yeah, the way he spoke was
he's pretty hideous.
But even he's in the future in a different place. Yeah, they're living in an agricultural society,
sort of a feral world.
Yeah. And Halle Berry, in her futuristic role, comes into that society to grab something from a temple or something like that.
That's right, from the old ones.
Yeah, so even in the future they were old. It looked old.
And they were talking in a sort of pidgin English that I found really hard to understand. I'd like to watch it again, in fact, because it's not as if you need to know every word that they say.
It helps.
It would help, but you can understand what's going on in the story without being.
It is very convoluted at times. It's hard to figure out what's going on, but as you get
intentionally so.
Yeah, and as you get further on into it, it starts making more sense. Yeah. It was brilliantly done. I don't know.
Very beautiful.
I don't know how do people write like that.
Yeah.
So out of context. Do they write a stream of things and then chop it all up and put it in different orders?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they did. So it was the 3 directors also wrote this movie. Now maybe it's from a novel. I don't know. But, this has been done plenty of times before.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, what's the Tom Hanks movie? Life is like a box of chocolates. Forrest Gump. Sort of like Forrest Gump on speed. maybe a little LSD thrown in.
And everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Seeing all these
fantastic sets.
Some of these major characters would be minor people at certain times and major people at other times. And all the different subject matter. I mean, at one point this guy is a pianist, and he's trying to write this beautiful melody, which is the commonality through a lot of the different.
The Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, it's called the Cloud Atlas, and it's a beautiful piece of music. And Jim Broadbent is the composer that has inspired this young composer to write this thing, but he wants to take credit for it and all this stuff.
They're both huge egos on these 2 composers.
Yeah.
And
one's well established, one isn't.
The older man says, no, you get no credit for this. I'm taking it, and if you don't let me have it, I will ruin you.
Yeah. And another time period, they're just trying to find the music on vinyl because it was so rare.
Right.
That they, just finding it being played was something very special.
Oh, it was. It's a beautiful movie. And the fact that you find out that now we're not even on Earth. Now we're so far into the future. On the one hand, technologically highly advanced, way beyond us, and other people on the planet Tom Hanks's people living like in mud huts.
Yeah.
And yet they have a common language. They can communicate. The races are separated again, but there's a very dystopian Earth future where everyone is Asian, and it seems a very...
Well,
what they are is they're clones. I don't know if they're all clones, but the main character in that, played by the Chinese actress, Zhu, she's just like a pleasure girl, and that's her purpose. That's what she was grown for, and there are hundreds, thousands, millions more just like her. And she becomes a figurehead for a resistance movement to break this stultifying bureaucracy that has held the world in check for so long.
Yeah, it's a revolution going on, and it's all underground stuff. A lot
of it is.
Yeah, and they're trying to find her and kill her, and then she's getting away all the time. But
it's a little disappointed that the revolutionaries said, we need you to articulate what our goals are. And yet the little speech that we hear her give is not that great.
But then why should it be? I mean, when you think about where she came from.
Yeah, you just need one clone to act as an individual, I suppose.
Yeah.
To break the mold, so to speak.
And it's a very intriguing movie.
It was.
It's well worth seeing. It's a long movie. I remember when I started watching and I looked at the time, the length of it.
Surprise. Yeah.
I'm going, why did Jerry pick a 3-hour movie?
Yeah.
But it was well worth it.
It was. It's really good. It's one of the best long movies I've seen in a long time.
That's saying it. Yeah, right. That says it all, Jerry.
Yeah. Now I got a movie that Mark hasn't seen, but I'd like to give it a mention because the writer, director, and star got in touch with us and asked us to review it.
Didn't he send you a DVD?
I do, and I'm sorry. I'll bring it.
And the reason I
didn't
didn't see it is because I didn't have the DVD.
Yeah, I know. I should have brought it today. Anyway, James Balsamo is the name of the writer, director, and star of this movie. Also in the movie, Dan E. Danger, and of course, Tom Savini, who is a legend in the horror genre, mostly as a special effects dude. He worked on many of the zombie movies and stuff like that. He does act at times, though. He was in the what's the movie directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it stars George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino as brothers on the run in Mexico.
Isn't that
From Dusk Till Dawn? I think that's the name of it. And it turns out that the little cantina that they think they're going to drink some beers and wait for daylight and their contact to get them to safety, turns out that the cantina is actually the top floor of an ancient Mexican pyramid, and it's stuffed full of vampires.
Oh.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
Oh, it's well worth seeing. You should see it. We'll talk about it in detail.
Oh, you're talking about Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
Oh, anyway. So Tom Savini is in that.
Yeah, that's a good shoot 'em up.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And you get that Mexican-American actress. She dances in a bikini.
Salma Hayek.
Salma Hayek.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Salma Hayek. Yeah. Boy, hubba. So, cool as hell. Oh, this is I'm sorry, James. This is a desperate little movie. It looks like it cost about $1,000, and that's probably just for catering. The idea is that his character, Rich, is he's sort of a slacker loser. He's got a comic book shop.
What's wrong with that?
That's the go-to occupation for a slacker, I guess.
Don't understand that. Yeah. It's very difficult to be a comic book owner.
He's not much loved in the comic book community. The son of the owner of the big comic shop in the town hates him, as of course they would, being unbelievable rivals in the cutthroat world of comic book collecting. Anyway, so Rich, that's Balsamo's character, he acquires a demon, and the demon, who's wearing a skinhead wig and a couple of little horns and is bright green, he can only be seen by Rich and Rich's best buddy, who is a real skanky looking little dude. And the demon, I think that might be Danny Danger. I'm not sure. Geez, you see a movie this bad and the details just sort of flow away.
I have the same thing happening to me.
Yeah.
It's like there are certain movies, when you're watching them, you have it all fresh in your mind, and then after a couple of days, it's gone.
It just goes. It's a self-preservation thing. Your brain is saying, no, it was too awful. You don't. It's like watching your child die in front of you. You can't remember every detail. It would break your heart every moment of your life.
But trauma, things like that tend to stick in your brain. I think it's when you're indifferent.
I feel somewhat violated by this.
When you're indifferent to it, then it's not going to stay with you.
No. Well, good luck with your next movie, James. But this one I really can't recommend to anybody who isn't in the movie, which is lots and lots of people, so, maybe you'll find an audience. The special effects consist of, I don't know, a couple of bottles of ketchup. It's just, the humor is lame. It's trying to be funny. It's trying to be a funny, silly horror movie, but I just can't find anything good to say about it whatsoever. I think it's lots of friends and people who were in the pub when they were shooting in the pub, and it's all shot in what is probably James Balsano's apartment and probably the bar he drinks in. Mm-hmm. And that's like it. I don't know, I was just depressed by the time I finished watching this. Mm-hmm. I was depressed for James. I was depressed for all the people who are in the movie.
Well, having not seen it, so I can't really comment on it, but in general, when I find a movie, it's basically the writing again, and I guess the way it's produced too.
Tom Savini, he's acted fine, but I think he needs direction. And I think James, he's wearing too many hats is what he's doing, writing, directing, and starring in it. And I don't know what kind of a shooting script he had, but it feels like it was being made up.
Yeah, delivered at the time.
Day by day.
And we've been through that.
Yeah, Mark and I used to do a series of shows on cable access here in Vancouver.
Yeah, and we were handed the script just before we shot it.
Well, when our director would write the show, then we would get the scripts sometimes moments before we were going live. When I wrote the scripts, I tried to get them to everybody well in advance, which is a much easier way to work.
It is.
And it gives everybody a chance to work out bugs and gives the writer a chance to fix things.
Right.
Or the director to fix things, because that's what directors do. But if you're writing it, it's really difficult, I think, to have the same sort of critical eye that a director alone can bring to a script. Mm-hmm. Because how can James say, well, this is weak, this is lame, this isn't funny, when he's the guy who wrote it, and he's the guy who believes he knows best how to deliver these lines?
Mind you, some people could pull that off.
Oh, yeah, Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, most times.
I'm thinking of his early funny stuff.
Even some of his later stuff was okay.
Of course. Yeah, he's made lots of good movies. But Cool as Hell was not.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
As hell. Oh, and the last movie we've got to talk about today is Dante's Inferno animated from 2010. 6 different directors, most of them Korean and Japanese.
Although it doesn't look like an anime or...
Parts of it does. It's based on Dante's The Divine Comedy, which is a real mockery of the Divine Comedy, because what they've done here is they've turned Dante, who's supposed to be guided by the Latin poet Virgil, on a tour through the various circles of hell to the center where three-faced Satan is entombed up to his chest in ice. This movie turns it into a superhero romp.
Although the superhero has his flaws.
Well, he's killing all these demons.
Yeah.
And they're already dead. It's the realm of the undead. How can he be killing them? Dante in the original doesn't kill anybody. He's witness.
Okay.
He's given a tour.
I was kind of wondering how the story...
Well, this is based... Here's the credit. It says the writer is Brandon Aumann, based on the video game, based on Dante Alighieri's Fall.
It's okay. It's a video game.
It was a video game. So
okay. That makes more sense.
Probably Japanese, Korean-made video game.
Right.
And you are Dante. Get to the 9th circle of hell and defeat Satan.
And your first circle is...
the suicides. It's like that. It's that simplistic. And, oh my goodness,
You didn't like it?
Having read some of the Divine Comedy, and as soon as I started watching this movie, I said, now this isn't ringing true, and I went to Wiki and I read their very long and detailed synopsis of this particular
Because I was wondering
episode,
about that. I didn't go to that detail, and do any research, but I was kind of wondering how true to the original.
The only thing that's true is the names of the various demons and
the circles of hell
and the circles of hell. Yeah. So what they've done is they've used Dante's work as a roadmap, and then they've armed the hero with a big bloody monster weapon, and he goes on a killing rampage trying to rescue his true love Beatrice, who, even though she was good, has been spirited off to hell.
To marry the Satan or whatever.
I think, in fact, she goes to hell maybe because she was a suicide or something. Anyway, I don't remember how it is that Beatrice gets to hell. In this, she goes to hell because Satan Lucifer finds her hot.
Yeah.
And wants to make her his girlfriend.
Yes, and plus the fact that this guy lied to her.
Yeah, I know. It's really, really
Yeah, it's like, were you
down.
faithful to your girlfriend? It wasn't even his wife, I don't think. Because he went off to the Holy Crusades.
Yeah.
And he was pretty much a schmuck.
Oh, he was a monster. He was
killing he would baby killer and just wiping out all.
That part is the closest thing to fact we get in the whole.
The guy was not a nice guy.
No, the Crusades were horrible.
And then he fooled around.
Yeah,
he raped a few people.
Yeah.
And then when Lucifer calls him on it, he
He
lies.
denies it.
And then Lucifer says, hey, I'm taking your babe.
Yeah.
You big liar.
You big mean liar, you. Yeah.
And that's, in a nutshell, that's the whole story.
It really is. It really is. And I have to say, for what it is, which is an Asian pseudo-anime horror adventure story.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was watchable. I didn't dislike it. But from an artistic point of view, it has nothing to do with Dante.
Yeah, exactly.
They should have just made up their own damn story.
Yeah, they could have called it Dante's Inferno, the video game animated.
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, this thing's got more titles on IMDb than I know what to do with.
I saw another movie based on Dante's Inferno as well. I couldn't remember a lot about it, but I kept remembering things as I was watching this movie because there were similar things in it.
Yeah.
But I remember it being a little more realistic than this other this thing.
No,
and this is an okay movie for... It's not for kids.
No, it isn't.
Definitely not for kids.
No, there's nudity and there's
a lot of molesting and
bloodshed.
And bloodshed all over.
And real nasty, like war atrocities, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't show it to a kid below 12.
But it is watchable. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't at the end of it say this is stupid.
No. I said it was stupid, but for other reasons. As a watchable movie, it's okay. It's an okay entertainment. I should mention real quick some of the big names that lend their vocal talent to this. Mark Hamill.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, the original Star Wars hero.
Skywalker.
Yeah, Victoria Tennant, who at one point anyway was married to Steve Martin. Nicholas Guest, brother of Christopher Guest.
Oh, I was wondering.
Yeah. They made an interesting Western together I think it's called The Long Riders. And the gimmick in that movie, which is a good Western, it had Nicholas and Christopher Guest. It had the Keach brothers, Stacy and his brother. And it had 3 Carradine brothers in it. So and then they're playing like the Cole Younger gang, and they were all brothers in the original gang.
Right.
So it was interesting to see these guys who are brothers and look like brothers in a gang together, being brothers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was funny. Nicholas Guest, the only other thing I can think to mention that he was in was he plays the husband in the horrible couple with Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation movie.
Okay.
Remember they get like tree bashed through their power outed and all that stuff.
Well, that's the one you see every year at Christmas time.
Best of the vacation movies,
yes,
if I may say so.
The dumb squirrel in the tree.
The fried squirrel on the old man's head for his toupee. Yeah.
Christopher Guest is actually doing a series for BBC, and it's called Family Tree.
Well, he's a lord.
Is he now?
He's an actual English lord, yeah. His family name is Hayden Guest. And the Hayden Guests are like, there's a daughter, one of Christopher Guest's sisters, I guess it is, who's a big socialite in New York. She's one of the glitterati, one of the jet setters. Yeah, and Christopher Guest and his brother both wanted to be actors. Christopher Guest originally was a musician.
Right.
He used to write and perform a lot of the stuff for the National Lampoon Radio Hour and their records.
And then he did Spinal Tap.
Yeah, that's right. He just acted in Spinal Tap, although a lot of that was improvised.
Yeah.
And then he's gone on to be one of the better improvisational directors.
Right. And this series is called Family Tree, is a character looking at his family tree, kind of like researching in it, and it's very funny.
Yeah,
it's very deadpan.
Different stories.
It's deadpan
because they different parts.
Yeah,
okay.
and first of all, he'll find an old photo or something like that, and his uncle looks like he's Oriental.
Oh, cool.
Or his great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And then he finds out he's not Oriental. He's in stage outfit. He was in the Mikado.
Oh, okay.
That's
funny, yeah.
So it's all these really weird things that he comes up with. It's quite funny.
I have to say that Christopher Guest has never quite matched Spinal Tap with his own movies. Spinal Tap is far and away superior. But I have enjoyed each of Christopher Guest's movies. I especially like A Mighty Wind.
And he did Best in Show.
Best in Show, about the dog shows.
Yeah,
that was funny. Even his first one, which people seem quite disappointed with, about the amateur theatrical production in the little town of Blaine.
That's right.
Which cracked everybody in Vancouver up, because right across the Washington state border is the little border town of Blaine.
Yeah.
Everybody in Vancouver knows Blaine because that's where we'd go to see porn movies.
Is that?
When we were teenagers.
That's right. Deep Throat was playing down there.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Everybody was going down there because they wouldn't let Deep Throat in Canada.
That's right. And the funny thing was that while us high school boys would be crossing the border to see porn down there, the Washington State boys would be coming into Vancouver
to drink.
To the Peeler bars.
Oh, that's right.
Because there wasn't total nudity in Washington State.
But they were also able to drink here when they were 19.
Yeah, that's right. 18 even, I think it is.
Was it here 18?
I think it's 18 in BC. Anyway, it's a free-for-all now. We got everything.
Yeah. But all the border towns, I mean, I'm sure all the ones in Detroit go to Windsor to go drink.
Oh, that's how border towns survive.
Yeah.
Cross-border shopping and stuff like that. Okay, folks, well, we're going to wrap it up. So just looking back real quickly, Dark Skies, Mark and I both like that. The ABCs of Death, it's worth seeing, although half of it is mediocre or worse.
I think
half of it is.
I think more of it is better than less. Okay, well, I would say it's at least 50% worth seeing. I think it's more 75%. Okay, well, Mark, easily satisfied. Cloud Atlas, we both really like that. Yeah. It isn't strictly speaking a horror movie, but there's lots of horrific things in it, and we like to include science fiction in our. It's an intelligent movie. It's something you have to sit down and really watch. You have to pay attention. Yeah, if you don't want to pay attention, then don't watch it. It is based on a novel. A friend of mine read the novel, and she liked it, and she also really liked the movie. So that bodes well. If the book and the movie are both considered good, then that means they got the movie right. Yeah. Sometimes it's just like a theme that they're trying to get from the movie. Yeah. But other times they get the real essence. You know? Well, I always use as an example Brideshead Revisited by the great English novelist Evelyn Waugh. And it's not a huge book, but to get that whole story told, and it's a wonderful story, to get that whole multi-generational story told, took English television about 14 hours. Right. So how can you take a novel and in 2.5 hours tell that whole story? Clockwork Orange is a tiny little novel, and you only get half of the story in Kubrick's movie. You don't even get the last chapter. Probably the most disturbing parts, though. Well, the best parts, yes. No, I love both. And I saw the movie before I read the book, so it's always more difficult to say which you like better. If you read the book first, I'm usually disappointed by the movie. Yeah. If I see the movie first and then read the book, I'm often like, well, there's an awful lot of extra fluff in the book that wasn't necessary. And Cool as Hell, Mark loved it. Mark loved it. Because I hadn't seen it. Not so much. And Dante's Inferno. It's watchable. It's even enjoyable. But if you're hoping
to pass your college exam.
Yeah,
the teacher will
it's
know.
not a Cole's Notes.
It is not by any means. The only thing that they keep is the notion of levels of hell and the names of the demons and damned.
Yeah, and the fact that he fools around on us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's a real ass.
Yes, he is.
On the Crusades.
Okay, so that's it. So long from Jerry.